Hello, welcome to Morning Call for Wednesday, the 18th of September 2019. I'm Fab from Hamburg. Here's some tech news for you. Um, I'm a bit late today. Also, didn't do a show yesterday, mostly due to the fact that I am very busy at the moment. It's just lots of work. Some of it just quite unforeseen. But in my job, you have to the news don't wait for you. As we've seen, as I've also seen with this show, because as soon as I'm not there for a day, they kick Richard Stallman out of the FSF, which is of course our very first story. Which is just mad after such a long time. Nobody would have thought this would ever happen, but that's what it is. The Register, interestingly, did the last interview with him. They wanted to interview him because, we talked about this hell freezing over, Stallman giving a talk at Microsoft. And they set up this interview, did the whole interview, and then, I don't know, a few days later, a day or two later, this whole Stallman situation came up. And it's worth reading the interview on the Register, I think. Also, their whole explanation of the whole thing is quite good. So basically, what happened is that there was a Medium post and I think then a Vice article. Basically, there were protests at FSF because not at SFF, FSF at MIT, where Stallman used to work. Or he's also been kicked out, I think. Yeah, no, he has been. There were protests because basically, so the MIT, I think it's the Media Lab, has been in uproar because it basically came out that I think the director, was this Joy Ito, had taken money from Epstein, even though Epstein had a lawsuit I think 10 years ago where that was settled. So basically, people knew that he was, sex trafficking and stuff, and the MIT guys still took his money, knowing this, and then there were protests, and connected to all of this was a AI pioneer called Marvin Minsky, who was, as part of this whole Epstein thing, accused of assaulting a woman or several, and she came out and said she was forced to have sex with him in the Virgin Islands, on Epstein's Island there, when she was 17. And so this whole thing connects to Stallman because there was a mailing list thread where Stallman basically defended Minsky and said, I don't want to call stuff like this sexual assault, like he might have not known, and all this stuff. Horrible comments. Undoubtedly. What completely amazed me about this whole thing is that this is not the worst Stallman has said. And I want to comment on this a little bit. People asked me yesterday on Twitter what my opinion was, and I said I didn't really have one. Turns out I always have an opinion. So I want to go into this a little bit, and then we'll move on to other news. But so basically, my take on this is I've never liked Richard Stallman. I've always respected him for not so much for the whole GNU thing, which I thought, I thought he was just riding into oblivion because basically it turned out that the Linux part of GNU/Linux is just massively more important, and he just made a clown of himself by calling everything GNU/Linux and having this conference writer and all these ridiculous things. I mean, I ran into this whole thing years ago when I tried to interview Stallman or tried to get him for an interview for my podcast. And when people, I contacted, said basically, okay, if you want to interview Stallman, you'll have to rename your podcast from Linux Outlaws to GNU/Linux Outlaws. At which point I said, fuck this. Stallman, well known for having staunch ideals, but I also have some ideals and I have some fucking dignity, so fuck off. And I've respected him mostly for having created the GPL, having had that initial idea. But to be honest, he had an idea 30 years ago or something, That is great, but that was basically it. So, and I have known, as anybody has known, who's been around open source for a few years, anybody who knows anything about the behind the scenes, and I'm not even well connected. Like, I was doing Linux Outlaws for almost a decade, but I kind of make a point of, even before I was a journalist, of not getting too attached with people, not getting too much on the inside, because you just get compromised with shit, and I don't want that. So I wouldn't even call myself well connected, but pretty much anybody in the open source community knew what Stallman was like. I mean, there were mailing list threads. I mean, this stuff was from an internal MIT list. But there was stuff on FSF. I mean, he posted stuff on his blog, and there was stuff on open mailing lists. People know about this stuff, and they have known. Stallman has been like this for 30 years. Actually, this was like one thing I always respected him for, is that the guy was, or is, not very well in touch with reality, right? So he talks about all this stuff about the internet, but really doesn't use the internet, and has like a personal assistant who like downloads stuff for him. So he's a bit disconnected from reality, but I've always respected him for stating his opinion, even if it was unpopular. And the thing is, he's always done this, and everybody knows this. Everybody literally knows this. The whole FSF know this. Anybody who's ever worked for the FSF, anybody who's connected to the FSF, anybody who's connected to any open source project, whenever Stallman comes up in a conversation, people know this. And it's just mind-boggling to me that they kicked him out now. And I think it's a good reason. I don't really support people being kicked out of their job for opinions. I don't think that is a good thing, but it's understandable, and it is at least a good reason. But the people that are doing this now are all fucking hypocrites, because they knew. And if they objected to this kind of stuff, they should have kicked Stallman out 15 years ago, to be honest. And to do this now because there's an outroar on the internet, it's just, you're fucking hypocrites. This is what you are. I mean, what kind of society are we building now? I see this now, like every week. It's getting worse and worse, especially in the tech world, with just mobs, like mob justice on Twitter, Medium posts and blog posts, and people calling for other people's jobs. I mean, what is this? Mad Max? Like, we might as well go all in and have Stallman fight in the Thunderdome, right? I'd be up for that. I already get the right haircut for that kind of world. But like, do you really want that? Is that what you want? And to be honest, I'm sorry, but like, the Register links statements here from the Software Freedom Conservancy, who I like the people who work there. I designed the original logo. I like him, but like, they're fucking hypocrites. They're like, okay, Stallman cannot speak for the free software movement, and we fight for diversity and blah, and we consider. So they're saying, when considered with other reprehensible comments he has published over the years, these incidents form a pattern of behavior that is incompatible with the goals of the free software movement. We call for Stallman to step down from positions of leadership in our movement. You fucking hypocrites. You knew. People working at Conservancy know Richard Stallman intimately. They knew what he was like. To now suddenly call for his resignation. Sorry. I don't know. Like, I can understand why you're doing it, because it's a witch hunt, and they will burn down Conservancy if you stand by Stallman. I can understand that, but don't word it like this. Like, I mean, you knew the other reprehensible comments he has published over the years, and you should have, if you really objected to it that badly, you should have severed ties with him then. And I don't get this. And the GNOME Foundation, same reason. They asked the FSF to cancel. Like the head of the GNOME Foundation asked the FSF to cancel his leadership, and I think he's the executive director of the GNOME Foundation, and I mean, Jesus Christ, I don't know the guy, right? But he's been around. He's been in the open source world. He knew. I knew what Stallman was about, and I just like randomly read some blog posts of him. Just read his conference writer, and you fucking know what the guy is about. And then you read his blog post, and then, years ago he said that, I mean, the Register brings this up in their interview, right? They say years ago he's talked about, basically that there is no such thing as child rape. If the child is consensual, it shouldn't be illegal. And the thing is, I respect Stallman for stating that opinion. I don't agree with that opinion. I think that opinion is horrible, but at least he stands up for his values. And he also said that, he talked to people and they explained to him why this is horrible, and why, yes, it should be illegal, because even if the child consents, there's problems with, can children even consent to something like this? There's problems with psychological trauma that they will have. And he went on and he said, yes, I understand this, and my statements are wrong. Even with having stated all these horrible things over the years, and even with me not liking Richard Stallman at all, and never having liked him, and never been a fan, or, whatever, I respect him more than these people who have been at his side and have been working with him for 10, 20, 30 years, and are now suddenly saying, well, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Jesus, fucking hypocrites. Anyway, I was going to say, speaking of fucking hypocrites, but they're sticking to their guns. So Richard Snowden has published his biography, and it's now in the news that the U.S. government is suing him because he's published the book, and obviously he's broken NDAs, having been a CIA and NSA contractor. Now they want the money from the book, and they're suing the German publisher, I think, and some other people. And now there's a big outcry, and Snowden's like on Twitter saying it's the book the U.S. government doesn't want you to read. Even the Register points out that they're actually saying, no, it's not about, we don't care about this, you can read the book, we just want the money. Which makes sense. I mean, there's nothing new in the book. Everybody who's read the book saying, oh yeah, it's an interesting book, but there's nothing new in it. He's just like doubling down and reminding people of what he disclosed, which is a worthy goal. But yes, so they're not stopping. That there's no new information they don't want to get out. They just want the money. And from the point of the U.S. government, from their standpoint, it makes complete sense. They wanted to convict the guy ran away, they can't convict him, now he's publishing a book and making money, although he's donating that to charity, I think. But still, for them to go, yes, you still broke contact and we're going to sue the publisher, makes complete sense. I mean, why wouldn't they? I think they have to, because they stand by laws that are actually, I mean, there's, people often don't understand this, but there's always, I had a discussion with somebody in the YouTube comments, great, about Assange and like him running away. And I think people confuse legality and the law with morals. We can have a discussion if what Snowden did was good for the public. And I would say yes. And we can have a discussion if something like that, if there should be an exemption in law where that shouldn't be illegal. And I would be down with that. If we can make that happen, I think that might be a good idea. Or it might be at least a worthy discussion. But that's a moral issue, right? Laws are laws. And under the law, what he did is he broke the law. Just like Assange made an agreement where he was to stay in a house and I think he even had a bracelet, like a electronic, thing on his leg. And he was like, I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to go to jail. I'm making a bargain with you. I'm going to stay here. And he absconded. He ran away and he got political asylum, which is all well and good. And that's, people should be able to do that. But he broke, in that moment, he broke laws. And a state has laws, and a state needs to enforce these laws. Otherwise, they're just useless, and nobody will care for the rule of law at all if you're not enforcing it. So there's always two questions: is it morally okay, and is it legally okay? And I think here's the same thing. I think legally, it's just there's no other. Like, the US has to enforce these laws, and then I think that's completely understandable. Everybody should have seen that coming, and it's not something I would get mad about. What you need to do is now have a discussion if that is morally all right. And so that is a discussion that happens kind of, it's more overarching than the law, because that discussion would be, do we have to change the law? And I would actually be up for that. But let's talk about less morally, hard issues that like we have to kind of rack our brains over. Let's talk about a bit of finances. GitLab has raised $268 million US. Another founding round, which was really successful. Hey, that's almost as much money as Chris Roberts got for JPEG chips. And from all their funding so far, they got $426 million. And they're now valued at $2.75 billion. But, this evaluation is that's always bull crap. And there's talk of an API. So, I think they have APIs and IPO. So next year, maybe they wanna have an IPO and get listed as stock exchange. That'd be interesting. GitLab, of course, being kind of like the more open source GitHub and the alternative of people who don't like that Microsoft bought GitHub. And GitLab is a service just like GitHub, but it's AGPL licensed, going back to the GPL. So, they give you a version that you can run yourself, and then you don't have to use their service. Of course, nobody does that because, I use GitLab. I don't want to run my own fucking server. I've got enough headaches as it is. But it's a cool alternative. Then interesting story I saw, you might have seen on Twitter, people posting these pictures of like kind of AI thing where you upload a picture and it tells you, I don't know, what you look like. I've got no idea. So this is a website called ImageNet Roulette, where some guy made software. It uses the ImageNet library, which is basically an information library that lots of AI people use, machine learning thing. It connects pictures to descriptions, and basically it comes out that you upload your picture, and then there's like this student, I think, and she uploaded a picture, and it says, I'm a myope, a person with myopia. Oh, this might have been because I had glasses on. Let's take the glasses off. Okay, now it says I'm a rape suspect. So this turns out to be an art installation by some guy who said, well, they're like misogynistic, racist things in these AIs because I think because the data is collected by old white men who are to blame for everything in this. I have to say that I'm an old white man. So it wants to call this to attention, which I think worked. What I find more interesting than all of that is that lots of my techie friends and everybody I'm following and all these amazing, intelligent people are uploading their pictures to that. And these are the same fucking people that like a few weeks ago were like, oh, no, don't upload your face to this Russian face app thing. Then the Russians have your data. Like, they know all our faces, and my God, they will create this AI and we're all gonna die. Don't give them your data. It's the same people that are now uploading their pictures to like some random website that like a few days ago nobody knew what this was about. Like before I read that on the register, I didn't know who was running that website. I think nobody knew. Nobody was looking into it. And that's okay. Fuck. That's again hypocrites. Also the people are saying, don't upload your picture to to Face app. Were like the same people that like half a year before were like, hey, I got an Alexa, it's great. In other depressing news, 24 million medical records and 700 million or more than 700 million images of medical scans, I don't know, x-rays, CT scans, stuff like this, have been found on the internet by a German IT security company who said, oh, it's just lying around. There's like this 1980s protocol called DICOM, Digital Imaging and Communications in Medicine, and it's just like us, all these doctors and hospitals, and they're just uploading crap, and it's like it's not secured, it's on servers. Like, oh, we found 737 million images, around 400 million of them were just downloadable. I would say I'm surprised, but I'm really not. So yeah, just be aware of that. Some interesting stuff. Full stories also on the register and probably everywhere else. But I'm gonna make this quick because I really gotta run. I've got a shitload of stuff to do today. There's just two more things. So if you have a Fitbit and you're using Android and the thing's not working, it's not you, it's Fitbit. Apparently there's an update and it's breaking like the wireless syncing between the device and the phone. As the register says, Fitbit fitness fans furious following flummoxing flawed firmware float, fleeting feedback, failed fixes. Which says everything and is brilliant. For over a month, this thing is crap, and it's basically, have you tried turning it off and on again? It might fix it, maybe not. Just if you have a Fitbit, just, if you're having problems, now you know why. And then Ars Technica reporting on, hey, we've got a new games launcher because we didn't have enough stores to buy games from. Yes, Rockstar has now done their own thing. If you install it, you get GTA San Andreas for free. Great. Normally $15. Like, how old's this game? 15 years? I don't know. Oh yeah, 2004. It's 15 years old. I just did that. My brain just came up with that. Yeah. They also discovered that apparently, I don't know if it's only them because they install it, but they said afterwards if they launched GTA 5 from Steam, it would install the launcher. Which, that's not the first company to do this. They're basically to force the launcher on you. Because that's what we need. We need more games launchers. We need more stores. We need, it's just as well that Microsoft a few Windows versions ago removed that, how in Windows 10 those little taskbar icons are now it shows 3 and then there's this little up arrow, because it's well and good that they hide that, because I have so many things running on my system that it would be I have an ultra widescreen screen and it would still be the whole taskbar full of shit. I mean, some of the shit I'm running because I want to, but most of the shit is just shit that just needs to run because you want to do something once in a while, and that's what we need, another store. Because the millions and millions and millions of dollars we're making, the literally Ferraris our CEOs are driving, are not enough for Rockstar Games. No, we need so it's bad that Valve's also making a percentage of that money. We really need to kick them out. And that's why, Fab, you need to install another launcher. Fuck you. Fuck you. Anyway, with that, yeah, sorry, I'm a bit teed off today. It's just, I don't know. Hypocrisy just that whole Stallman thing is just now they discover that Stallman has horrible opinions, and now suddenly they want to kick him out. I just get it. Anyway, taking all of that into account, I still hope you have a great day today. I still hope you're getting some work done. I know I certainly will try. And then tonight I'll go to a bar and just drink all the pain away. So I hope you have something for you that works. I hope you are productive and you have a nice day. I hope the weather is good where you are. As it's here, it's obviously now getting cold. It's getting autumny. Unless you're in Australia, then you're on the great side of the world where you're now getting summer. Oh God, I wish I was in Australia. Anyway, have a great day, and I'll see you around. I am so currently I don't know. I'm gonna try to do a show tomorrow and on Friday, but I can't promise anything. So basically, I'm just looking at my to-do list. It's all over the place, and it's like all this stuff I wanna do just get spunt onto the next day, and then needs to get done. And I'm just rotating here, so I'll try. And Johan, thanks for watching. Have a nice day. You specifically have a nice day, and I'll see you around probably tomorrow. I'll be back. Don't worry. See you then. Goodbye.